Now, Sandile Mantsoe's case has been postponed to the 23rd of June. Mantsoe is accused of killing Karabo Mokoena. Our senior specialist reporter, Karyn, was in court a little earlier and joins us now live. Karyn, of course, the big issue here, of course, outside of the murder, is the media's access to this bail application.
You know, what is absolutely astounding is I think this is one of the first cases certainly I've been involved in, and I think maybe one of the first cases in terms of South Africa's constitutional democracy, where the NPA has effectively asked for an order and got an order that the media can't even report on the contents of the bail affidavits from the investigating officer, Captain Radebe, or the accused himself. So we have basic knowledge from what was reported. You know, we know that he's admitted that he found, on his version, found her body and then disposed of it in the most horrific manner by dousing her with petrol, putting pool chemicals obtained, and then burning her body in that felt, and led the police back to her body. But we can't report on what he says, you know, what the cause of death was. We can't report on the state's averments with regard to what they believe were potential motives for this killing. We can't report on any of this. Times Live then tried to appeal that ruling by the magistrate, having had the journalists sit in court and listen to the versions of what the state and defence will be. And now the NPA, under the directorship of Shaun Abrams, is appealing that ruling and effectively trying to block all reporting on it. In the interim, of course, we still see the Sunday newspapers reporting that she may have been murdered as part of a ritual killing. That issue has been addressed in court, but I can't tell you what the state is actually saying.
Because of that ruling.
Exactly.
Now, how does this make sense to a person watching this interview, especially because when you look at the Oscar Pistorius trial, the bail hearing, firstly, and then the trial, yes, there were arguments from the NPA and also the defense that there are some witnesses who did not want to be shown on TV, they didn't want their voices heard. So, you know, things were done to actually make sure that didn't happen. Why now can that rule not apply?
What's worse is we're not even asking for broadcast. I mean, we can broadcast the judgment in this case. That's a ruling that's been given. But we can't even tell you or tweet or say what is happening in court. But an ordinary lay person in the public who comes out and maybe I sat in this case and tweets about it or Facebooks about it, what is the NPA going to do? Our courts are premised on the constitutional prerogative that they are open, that justice must be seen to be done. How do you possibly justify saying, because evidence is sensitive, now the whole process cannot be reported on? It is simply constitutionally unsustainable. And Johanna, will tell you one thing that disturbs me, why the NPA has taken this particular approach. If the NPA believes it now has a basis to go to courts and say, we think XYZ is sensitive, you can't report on this, we have the distinct possibility that our president may be facing trial for corruption. We have a host of very serious potential criminal cases coming in the future. If the NPA believes that it can go to a court and say, this is sensitive, they can't report on it, that has profound implications in the current environment that we are sitting in.
So now, this magistrate in particular, of course, is not happy that he's had to postpone the case in the first place. He says that it's infringing on Sandile Mantsoe's rights. How long will it take for this appeal application by the media to actually be heard?
Well, it's going on the 23rd of June. I think papers were going to be filed. There's a timetable. So there will be argument on that matter before that magistrate. And having sat in his court before, you know, there's a distinct possibility that he gives a ruling on the day, having read the papers, and then the bail application proceeds from there. I mean, I think Sandile Mantsoe's, you know, I'm very curious as to their rationale in supporting the NPA in the way that they have, because they've rolled over and said, we're happy to do this postponement, because his version of events, his defense, is not in the public domain either. So there is an argument to be made that when you curtail media freedom in terms of reporting openly about court processes, you definitively may harm the rights of the accused, because his version is not out there, and you stop the public from knowing in a clear and coherent manner what is actually happening inside that courtroom.
Now, given that we're seeing this unfold, has there been any reaction or joining of forces, perhaps from SANEF, in protecting our right to freedom of press?
I do think there are going to be moves on that. I know Times Live and their lawyers have approached other media houses for some sense of solidarity on this issue. And I really hope that it is taken seriously. The media environment in South Africa is very strong, but it's also under siege. Media is very underfunded. Media houses are under-resourced, and oftentimes that issue of resourcing informs whether media houses choose to litigate or not, because it's obviously expensive. But in a matter like this, which sets such a disturbing precedent, one would hope that there is a unification of forces and that the media put forward the best argument possible to deal with what could really have negative consequences for fair, accurate reporting in the future.
Yeah, definitely worrying. All right, thanks for that. Our senior specialist reporter, Karyn, of course, coming from the Sandile Mantsoe case.